Okay, we're going to look at how to evaluate an algebraic expression. All this means is we now know what the letters represent or what the number is, and we're going to substitute that number in place of the letter and then solve the expression using our order of operations or PEMDAS. Okay, so the first thing to do is to copy down exactly, but instead of each letter, we're going to replace it with a parenthesis. Okay, inside the parenthesis, we're going to write the value or the numerical value of the letter. So A is 5, B is 7, A is 5. Okay, and now we just have a basic addition problem, which we all know how to do. So 5 plus 7 is 12, and 12 plus 5 is 17. And there's our answer. Okay, let's look down here. We have B squared minus A squared. Okay, I'm going to replace my letter with a parenthesis. I'm going to copy everything else down exactly like it is. Okay, so we're going to do like this, squared. And what's B? B is 7, so put a 7 in there. Minus A, I'm going to replace with a parenthesis, squared. A is 5. Okay, and now I'm going to use my order of operation, which tells me I do parentheses first, but what it means is evaluate inside a parenthesis. All mine just have a number, so we don't need to, there's nothing else to do. Next is exponents. Okay, so I'm going to write my PEMDAS up here. M/D, A/S. Okay, so exponents is second. So we're going to do 7 squared, which is 49, minus 5 squared. 5 squared is 5 times 5, that's 25. Okay, and now 49 minus 25 is going to be 24. So there's my answer. All right, let's do another example with our same A and B values that we had before. Okay, so I have 9. I'm going to copy down my expression exactly as it is, but every time I see a variable, I'm going to put parentheses like this. A is 5 plus 13. My B, I'm going to replace with a parenthesis. B is 7 minus 3. Instead of A, I put a parenthesis. A is 5. Instead of B, I put a parenthesis. B is 7. Okay, now 9 times 5 is 45. 13 times 7, well, 10 times 7 is 70, and 3 times 7 is 21. So that would be 91 minus 3 times 5. Actually, let's do 5 times 7 first. 5 times 7 is 35, and 35 times 3 is 105. Okay, if my math is a little bit fast, that's okay. You can always pause it or slow it down, but that's not the point of the video, so I don't want to spend a lot of time on the mental math part. All right, now we're going to work from left to right, because again, we're still following PEMDAS, right? We just did this part. There was no parentheses, no exponent. So we started with multiplication and division, and I did all the multiplication first. So you cannot do the addition and subtraction until you take care of all the multiplication and division. Okay, the last part is addition and subtraction, and I'm going to go left to right. Okay, so I start here, 45 plus 91. All right. That's 136 minus 105. Okay, so that's going to be 36 minus 5, which is 31. So there's going to be my final answer. Okay, so evaluating expression, actually, there's the substituting in, but then you have to know how to follow PEMDAS in order to get your final answer. All right, we're going to make the examples, we're going to change our numbers and make it a little bit harder. All right, in these examples, now we're going to be looking at expressions that have x and y. And for these examples, x equals 6 and y equals minus 2. Now, a really good question I got in class was, is x always going to be 6? Is y always going to be negative 2? No, it will not. It depends on the problem. We can use x in any number of expressions, but it doesn't mean it will always be 6. So when we are asked to evaluate, the specific value for x and y, if those are what's used, will be given in the problem. Okay, so let's do what we did before. We are going to copy that down, but everywhere we see an x and a y, we're going to replace it with parentheses. So I've got 2x, I need parentheses, x is 6, plus y, put a parenthesis, y is minus 2. Okay, now I'm going to follow PEMDAS. PEMDAS tells me to do parentheses. Those are fine. They've already got a number inside. Exponents, there's none. Multiplication and division. So I need to do this before I do the addition. 2 times 6 is 12 plus a minus 2. All right, now I'm using my knowledge of adding and subtracting sign numbers. So a positive 12 and a minus 2. That means we're going to subtract, find the difference. 12 minus 2 is 10. So there's my final answer. Okay, let's look here. We've got y squared. I'm going to copy this down. Everywhere I see a y and an x, I'm going to replace it with parentheses. So my y squared, y is minus 2, plus x squared. So I'm going to put parentheses, squared, x is 6, minus, there's an x, so put parenthesis, x is 6, y, put a parenthesis, it's minus 2. All right, so again, let's follow PEMDAS. PEMDAS is parentheses. Well, I don't have anything inside to evaluate, so let's move to exponents. I've got 2 of them. Here I have a minus 2 squared. These can be a little bit tricky, but remember, exponents are repeated multiplication. I'm going to do a little side problem over here. I'll put it in another color. Okay, minus 2 squared means minus 2 times minus 2, because exponents are repeated multiplication. Okay, what is 2 times 2? Well, that is 4. And we learned that when we multiply sign numbers, if we have a negative times a negative, our answer is going to be positive. Okay, we can just write 4 or we can write plus 4. It does not matter. Okay, so over here, this is going to be 4 plus 6 squared. Well, 6 squared is 6 times 6, and that is 36. Now, the next part is, let's copy that down, times minus 2. Okay, I did my exponents. The next thing is multiplication and division from left to right. So I'm going to go left to right. I've got a plus, no, minus. Okay, I've got some multiplication happening here. So before I do my plus and minus, I've got to take care of this. Okay, so just covering up that sign for the moment, 6 times 2 is 12. But I have a plus times a minus, and that means it's minus. Okay, I'm going to put parentheses around that, and now I'm going to bring down the rest of my equation just like it's written. All right, now let's go from left to right. We can do our addition and subtraction. 4 plus 36 is 40, minus a minus 12. Okay, so now we've got to use our knowledge of subtracting with negative numbers. All right, so if you remember from the lesson that we did, when we have subtraction, if it makes it easier, I'm not interested in making my problem harder, but if it makes it easier, I can change it to addition, and I can change, if I do that, I have to change the sign of the number that comes after, not the number before, not any other number in my problem, only the one after it. Okay, I'm going to change that to plus. And now I have 40 plus 12. Okay, and that is 52. So there is my final answer. All right, our last problem, we're getting complicated. Okay, we have x squared, so I'm going to go ahead and copy this, replacing all of my variables with parentheses. X is 6, y squared is minus 2, plus 6x, I'm going to put parentheses, is a 6, minus 6 times my y. Okay, we just did this over here, so we can look back at our work, right? 6 squared is 36, that's 6 times 6. And minus 2 squared, we just worked up here, which is minus 2 times minus 2, and that is a 4. Okay, plus, I'm just going to copy this down. You can do more of this in the first time around, but to keep it more separated and simple, I'm going to just copy it down before I move on. All right, the next part of PEMDAS, I did exponents, is multiplication and division. Simultaneously, whatever comes first, moving from left to right. Okay, so my first one I get to is 36 times 4. Well, 30 times 4, or 3 times 4 is 12, so that's 120. 6 times 4 is 24, so that would be 144. Plus 6 times 6 is 36, minus Okay, I'm going to cover that up if it helps me. 6 times 2 is 12, but I have a plus times a minus, so that's going to make it a minus 12. Okay, now that I've done all of my multiplication, now I can go back and do all of my addition and subtraction going from left to right. Okay, so I have 144 plus 36. So 6 and 4, that's going to make, why did I change pens? That's going to make 10, carry the 1, that's going to make an 8. So that's going to give 180. Okay, minus 12. Now, because I have a subtraction problem, I have the option to change that to addition and change the sign of the number it follows. That makes my math easier. And I think it will make my math easier because this, I can't conceptualize what's happening. So I'm going to change subtraction to addition. And if I do that, I have to change the sign of the number that comes after. Okay, I can't stress this enough because I've seen this. These are the mistakes we're making in class, is we're changing it and then we're just changing the sign of any number that we see in the problem. And that is not going to give you the right answer. Okay, so the subtraction problem and only change the number that follows the subtraction sign. Okay, so now I end up with 180 plus 12, which gives me 192. And that would be my final answer. With these, strongly encourage you and recommend use parentheses. When your problems get harder, it's like essential that you're using parentheses to make sure that we're substituting properly. It also makes it very clear for you what's been substituted into the problem, and it really helps like know what's happening, that you're doing multiplication, whatever you're doing. It's a really good method to keep your work tidy and clear, and so you can follow your own work as you go along. Sometimes we get a bit lazy and we don't want to put the extra effort in just to make some parentheses, but make the parentheses. It will make your work more clear and easy. And the more you practice, the better you're going to get at it. It might not make sense or might be hard the first couple times, but the more you do it, the more you get used to it, and you'll get faster and faster and faster at it.